With the sun rising over Phillip Island, the riders in AusCycling's National Road Series were all set for the fourth and final stage of the Tour of Gippsland. Racing the Grand Prix circuit in the opposite clockwise direction for the last stage, as always, the men were quick to start attacking on the first of 18 laps. 80 kilometres around the fast-flowing circuit, with the wind not as strong as on the previous stage. Eventually, three riders got clear. Tarly Lane Welsh in the green of Caish Parkup, the black and white of Mackenzie Edwards from Blackshaw Racing, and Tynan Shannon. The gap grew to a maximum of 2 minutes, but Team Bridge Lane took control of the peloton and the leader, Tristan Saunders, looked comfortable. The pace up front was too hot for Mackenzie Edwards, leaving Shannon and Lane Welsh to try and hold off the main bunch. But the Caish Parkup rider had been told to stop working by his team manager because his squad had started chasing hard to try and bring it all back together for a bunch sprint. It was all together on the final lap, and Bridge Lane then seized control of the front of the peloton, setting up Saunders to launch his sprint to convincingly win back-to-back stages, ahead of Declan Tresize of ARA Skip Capital and Tristan's teammate Elliot Schultz. Saunders took out the general classification victory by 22 seconds over Boris Clark from the Cycling Development Foundation and 26 seconds to Blackshaw Racing's Oliver Stenning. Tristan Saunders continues to lead the National Road Series overall standings, with Team Bridge Lane on top of the team classification. The final stage for the women was 16 laps for 70 kilometres around the racing circuit. Bridge Lane's Emily Watts had a 7-second lead in the overall classification to Stage 2 winner Caitlin Nicholson from Butterfields and 11 seconds to Stage 3 winner Georgia Whitehouse. The early laps were littered with attacks, with the NRS ladies being really aggressive on this final stage. And after 6 laps, 3 riders moved ahead, with number 1 Gina Ricciardo policing the move for Bridge Lane, along with ARA Skip Capital's Rachel Wales, and fresh back from the Under-19 World Championships in Glasgow, Mackenzie Coupland from the Cycling Development Foundation. Ricciardo picked up the time bonus sprints, but the gap didn't get much more than 30 seconds, with the Women's Racing Project doing most of the chasing. After it all came back together, Bridge Lane's Keely Bennett jumped clear with 4.5 laps to go. She picked up the final intermediate sprint, but it was the stage victory that she was hunting. It was a good show of strength from Keely, coming back from a nasty crash in the first stage. At the bell, the gap was 30 seconds, and it had become a real fight between Bennett and the rest of the field. Rachel Wales did much of the chasing, but the gap was holding strong on the final lap, giving Keely Bennett plenty of time to celebrate a hard-fought win on the final day here on Phillip Island. A strong sprint from Lily Pollock gave Bridge Lane a 1-2 finish, with Ella Sibley from Cervelo's Zip Track third. It was great to see a strong solo effort rewarded with the stage win. It was a brilliant 3 days for Team Bridge Lane, with the overall classification win going to Emily Watts, ahead of Caitlin Nicholson of Butterfields Racing and ARA Skip Capital's Georgia Whitehouse. And they extend their overall lead in the National Road Series Teams classification.